So for my comics and most of my standalone pics, I do tend to use lineart nowadays, most of the time. That is because I find it, of course, much easier to paint the edges of things behind a line, where it doesn't matter if you cross to the other side 1 or 2 pixels, as you would if you were painting in a more traditional style. And some people are even surprised to know that I use lineart at all, because then I make it disappear using the techniques that I will talk about in this video. But you can still see some hints that I do use lineart, like when I make it visible in the rim lights, for example in this helmet, or in this hair, which is glowing with the light from behind. Or even less hidden is that I use the lineart to draw the eyelashes and the pupils, which I then paint black, and the nose too, usually. So let me show you how I do it. Suppose you want to color the lineart of a simple shape with 3 sides, and perhaps one side has some sort of hair that you want to keep in your lineart. And each side of your shape has a different color and a different value. For example, a desaturated red side. Now, if you want to color your lineart so that the picture seems seamless, the question is, what color should each line be? For example, on this top line, we could either make it red so that it mixes with one side, or blue so that it mixes with the other, or perhaps a combination of both colors so that it looks like a smooth transition. And we will try both techniques. Now, first, I will show the smooth transition method. And for this one, I will hide the lineart for a second so we can see what's going on. I will duplicate the layer with the colors, and I will blur it 5 pixels because my lineart is about 5 pixels wide. And having done that, behind every point of the lineart now, there lies the color which we want it to be. For example, on the transition, now there is a smooth transition behind the lineart. But, as we can see on the side of the hairs, the color does not reach far enough, so I will duplicate it and merge it with itself so that it expands and becomes more opaque. But since that is not enough to reach the longest hairs, I will duplicate it again and blur the one behind the top one. Again, maybe 5, or if we are daring, maybe more pixels. I will duplicate it and merge it again. I will merge the top again, duplicate, blur always the ones beneath, duplicate and merge until it becomes opaque. Now, having done that, I will make a group with the lineart layer, and on top of it I will put the layer we created by merging and blurring repeatedly, and I will alpha lock it, which will make it only visible where the lineart is visible. And by doing that, the lineart is now colored. This method is quite fast, but it produces this obviously blurry looking result, which maybe you do not want, so I will show you the different method which produces much sharper results. This other method will color the lineart according to which side is darker. For example, this line over here would be colored green. This line over here would be colored red because this red is darker than this blue, and this one here would also be colored green. This method could also work by choosing which side has the brightest color or more saturated color, or any other criteria really, but I found that it gives better results when it's based on which color is darker. And for this, I will use the blending mode darker color, which by default only appears on this darken tab over here, and you have to give it a check mark so that it appears among your favorites. What this blending mode does is it always keeps the darkest color on top. For example, if I paste this grayscale over here and make a small smiley face with gray eyes and set this layer to a darker color, if I put it over here, the face will be visible because it's entirely darker than the colors which lie behind it. But if I start moving it down, here the grayscale is darker, and so it will be the color that shows on top. And if we keep going down, eventually even the eyes will disappear and the darker color will always prevail. And to use this blending mode for coloring our lineart, we will use it to expand the darker colors on top of the brighter ones. this way. And I will start the same way as before by duplicating the layer with the colors. I will disable the liner so we can see what's going on. I will now duplicate again this layer and set it to darker color, and I will duplicate it 3 times more. Now we have these 4 layers with the color and the blending mode of darker color. I will move the first one about 5 pixels higher, the second one 5 pixels lower, the third one 5 pixels to the right, and the fourth one 5 pixels to the left. And now I will merge the first one with darker color with the layer in normal mode, and we will continue that way until we have merged all. And it's important to go from bottom to top in order not to destroy the blending mode hierarchy. And as we can see, the resulting layer has expanded the darker colors. And just like in the previous method, these longest hairs have not been reached by the expanded layer. So I will duplicate the expanded layer. I will blur it about 5 pixels. I will duplicate it and merge it with itself. I will repeat the process until it has covered everything. And now, just like in the previous method, in order to color the lineart, all I have to do is make a group layer with the lineart, drag the expanded colors layer on top of it, and clip it using the alpha lock button. And there it is. Now the lineart is fully colored, and the transition between colors is noticeably sharper than before. And the main downside of this technique is that in the corners you can see the darker color bleeding a bit over the lighter ones. But to fix this, I simply merge these two and go over those parts manually. And there it is. Now let me show you how I would use it on a real drawing. By the way, in order to fill my lineart so quickly, I use this tool called Enclose and Fill, which I have with these settings over here, if you want to copy them. And I have it so that it only applies to layers with orange or blue tag, which means that if I put the lineart layer with the orange tag, it becomes orange, and now I can go to any other layer, and if I enclose the lineart, it will fill it instantly. I finished painting the character K from my comic post Fable, which I unbiasedly recommend, and now it's time to do away with the lineart. What we could do is simply remove it, but as we can see, some parts are a bit rough or very pixelated on the edges, or of inconsistent coloring, like over here. And of course we would like to keep the smoothness and the features that we like of our lineart. So for this I will try the darker color method. First though, I should take care of this little error here in which the darker gray shows up, because if I do it, all this part of the lineart will become gray because that's the darker color in that zone. For that I will select this part, copy, move it a bit to the right, and eliminate the part I don't like. There it is. Okay, so just like before, I will start by disabling the lineart layer so we can see what's going on. I will duplicate the color and light layer. I will duplicate it again, set the blending mode to darker color, make a total of 4 copies, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that blending mode. I will offset them in the 4 different directions by about 3 or 4 pixels, upwards, downwards, to the right and to the left, and I will merge from bottom to the top. Now we can see that some parts maybe are not fully covered, so we will do the same thing as before of duplicating, blurring the one behind, duplicating and merging until it becomes fully opaque, then merging those two, and now of course I will clip the resulting layer to the line art, and there it is. Now I will merge these two so that we have only one line art layer, and I will create another layer inside this group with alpha lock and the blending mode multiply, which I will use to darken some parts of the line art which I want to make visible again. For example, if I use this color over here, I can make these little parts pop up a little bit more, and of course the eyes and the eyelashes. Now I will merge the result, and since the line art is still there, we can use it for example, make some sort of rim light using a blending mode like color dodge. Now what usually follows is simply merging everything together and going over the smaller details, fixing tiny inconsistencies that tend to appear during the process. So that's all. I kind of put off making a video about this line art method because it kept changing every few months or so as I discovered new ways to make it a bit better, and I was afraid that if I published a video it would quickly become obsolete. But now it hasn't changed in a while, so I thought it was a good time to make it. Now, I don't think that this is the best method to color the line art. There are probably some better ones out there that I haven't found out about. So if you do know one, be sure to tell me. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And thank you for watching.